widely. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Senator Murray.
Well, thank you so much to all of you for joining me to talk a little bit about the products people across our country use each and every single day. Everything from shampoo to lotion, makeup, baby powder, and a lot more. And to talk about the changes that I have long pushed for and just got signed into law to make sure that these sort of cosmetic products are on the up and up. Because everybody deserves to be able to trust that when they pick up some lipstick or baby powder at the drugstore, it is actually safe for them to use. But over the last few years, we have seen way too many concerning incidents when that simply has not been the case. Just last fall, several dry shampoo brands were reported to have high levels of benzene. That is a grade A carcinogen. And it's not the first time that this dangerous chemical, which is linked to leukemia and blood cancers, has been found in cosmetics. It's also been found in antiperspirant sprays, in sunscreen sprays, to name just a few examples. And what's more, benzene is far from the only cancer-causing chemical we have found in products that people use every day. We've seen really harmful substances make their way into American homes in cosmetic products. We have found formaldehyde in hair products. We found asbestos in children's makeup kits. I mean, we have found asbestos in baby powder. This stuff is stuff that people come in really close contact with, and they use it all the time. So again, we are talking about lotions, deodorants, perfumes, toothpaste, hairspray, lipstick, eyeliners, and a lot more. The bottom line is people need to be able to trust the products they use all the time are not going to hurt them and do not contain poisons. Families deserve to know that these products are safe, and that seems pretty basic to me. But throughout its history, and I'm talking since it was founded really, the FDA simply has not had the authority it needs to meaningfully regulate these products. The industry actually has been left to itself to regulate itself, which means families have been left on their own when it comes to making sure that the products they use are safe. When, for example, asbestos was found in makeup products sold to young people just a few years back, the FDA itself said it didn't have the tools it needed to keep people safe, that the safety of cosmetics was largely up to the makers of those products. So this has been a big problem and something I've been very focused on fixing. I and a lot of my colleagues have been pushing for years actually to change that. This is an effort that actually goes back to when Ted Kennedy was chair of the Health Committee. It is something that Senator Collins and Feinstein really zeroed in on, and I was really grateful to work with them to craft reforms to finally give the FDA the tools it needs to keep people safe. I pushed really hard to get these reforms across the finish line, and I'm so glad that last year we finally passed key reforms to bring FDA's cosmetic regulations into the 21st century. These are simple, common sense steps that give FDA much needed tools so it can proactively work to ensure products are safe for use. So let me outline what these steps are that they can do and what it'll mean for consumers in Washington State and across the country. First, the new law ensures that the FDA knows who is making cosmetic products and what products they are making and where. Second, it ensures that if people are getting hurt by products, whether that's hair falling out or getting a severe rash or something more serious like cancer, companies have to provide a contact on their products so people can report any issues that they're having. And this is really key. It requires companies to report to the FDA within 15 days of any serious issues that have been reported so that the FDA knows and can take appropriate action. Third, if a product is unsafe, thanks to this law we just passed, FDA now at long last has the power to force a recall. so we can get dangerous products off the shelf and out of medicine cabinets before they hurt people. Now, the reforms we got done take a number of other critical steps as well, for example, to ensure proper testing of asbestos, but I won't go into every detail right now. The point really is that these are common sense steps that were way overdue, and I'm so glad that we were able to finally get them passed in a bipartisan way late last year. Now, what do these reforms mean for consumers? They mean peace of mind, more confidence that the products that they use each and every day are safe to use, and that when issues are reported, the FDA can finally take real action. Now, our work is not done yet. I'm going to be watching very closely to make sure that the FDA is actually implementing these laws correctly and using these new tools effectively. And I'm going to keep working to make sure the investments necessary to give FDA the resources it will need is done as well. And today I'm so glad to be joined by Scott and Sydney. Scott has been a real advocate on this issue and who can say a bit more to all of you about why these steps are so important and what this is going to mean for families back in Washington State and across the country. And then we will hear from Sydney as well with her expertise on this. So thank you to both of you, and we will start with you.
Great, thank you so much, Senator. Let me just start by saying that the progress that was made in MOCRA, the Modernization of Cosmetics Regulation Act, MOCRA, would not have happened but for the leadership of Senator Murray. Thanks to your leadership, thanks to your insistence, thanks to your perseverance, MOCRA was included in the end-of-year spending bill. It sounds so simple, but the products, it sounds so simple, but it wasn't the case until this law passed that there was a guarantee that the products that we rub on our bodies every day are safe. Most Americans already assume they are, but until Senator Murray secured passage of MOCRA, companies making personal care products were under no statutory obligation to ensure that they were safe. Which is, it's incredible that it's taken 84 years, but we're finally now at a point where companies have a legal obligation to ensure that these products are safe. Until Senator Murray secured passage of MOCRA, FDA could not even look at company safety records. Until Senator Murray secured passage of MOCRA, companies did not even have to let FDA know if their products were hurting people, or even when their products were contaminated with asbestos, or in one case, caused more than 20,000 women and girls to lose their hair. That company did not need to tell FDA until Senator Murray secured passage of MOCRA. Until Senator Murray secured passage of MOCRA, FDA could not stop companies like this one particular company from making dangerous products or even order a recall if their products were sending people to the hospital or worse. Consumer advocates led by Senator Collins and Senator Feinstein have sought since 2015 to change the law, a law that I mentioned had not been changed in 84 years, to give FDA the same basic powers the agency has over other products like food and drugs and medical products. And we are so grateful that Senator Feinstein, along with Senator Collins, brought industry and consumer groups like EWG together 8 years ago to help develop the bill that ultimately became MOCRA, and for shining a spotlight on our failure to ensure that consumers are safe when they use these products. And it's just one more way that Senator Feinstein has helped make us all safer. And to be totally candid, after 8 years of trying, some of us were ready to throw in the towel, but Senator Murray never gave up. And thanks to Senator Murray, the reforms initially developed by Senator Feinstein and Senator Collins are now law. So as Senator Murray said, as a result of her efforts, companies will now have to register with FDA. They will have to tell FDA what is in their products. They will have to tell FDA when their products are hurting people. And thanks to Senator Murray, FDA will now have the power to do something when people are getting hurt. Companies will now finally have to ensure that their products are safe and let FDA look at their safety records. And in particular, companies will now have a legal obligation to test their talc-based products for asbestos. So thank you, Senator Murray, for securing this important, very important victory for consumers. And with that, I'll throw it to Sydney.
Thank you so much, Scott, and thank you, Senator Murray, for having me. I'm really excited to be on this conversation. Knowing that the cosmetics we use on our face and body daily are safe is extremely important. I believe it is equally as important as what we put into our bodies. Up until now, cosmetic companies did not have to disclose ingredients if it was lower than a certain percentage, which as a consumer is so nerve-wracking. I don't want to find asbestos or carcinogens in my cosmetics, and thankfully the FDA now has the tools they need to regulate the cosmetic industry and force unsafe products off the market. This is a big step forward to keep consumers safe and for the clean cosmetics in the United States. Brands such as Milk Makeup, Ilia, Kosas have become some of the most popular brands and are celebrated due to the fact they are 100% or almost 100% clean, proving that it is possible to be clean and successful as a company in the cosmetic space. It's time for the cosmetic industry to catch up to what the consumers want and what we need in our current climate. The cosmetics I use every day should be carcinogen, asbestos, and cruelty-free, and these reforms that Senator Murray has put forward are going to make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
All right, so now we have time for question and answer with reporters that are on today's call. Please use the raise your hand function, and we'll take questions in the order that folks raise their hands. You should see that at the bottom of your Zoom screen under reactions, and then just give us your name and outlet once we call on you. All right, I see Teddy has raised his hand. So Teddy, please feel free to ask your question. Just let us know your outlet.
I tried to delay myself to not be the first person. Hi, I'm Teddy at the Washington Post. Thank you, Senator Murray, for taking the time, and thank you for Scott and Sydney. I was reporting on the benzene contaminations in the fall and over the summer. And as you all know, benzene isn't intended to be on the ingredient list for any of these products. It's a contamination from the refinement process of the propellant for some of these cans. So I'm just wondering if in what ways these new tools for the FDA would, does it mean that the FDA can start testing batches of these types of spray cans, or does it mean that industry or suppliers are required to do the same? Or maybe that's something that you wish to accomplish down the road. I just was wondering if you had some insight there.
Well, Teddy, thank you for that question. And I'll turn it over to Scott, who's the expert on this. But I'll just say this. Immediately, FDA will be able to recall if people are reporting that there is an issue with one of these. They didn't even have that capability before. But let me have Scott answer your technical question on that.
Great. Thank you, Senator Murray. And I also, in addition to working for the Environmental Working Group, I'm an adjunct law professor at Georgetown, where I teach a class on chemical safety law issues, and actually teaching a class on cosmetics law tonight. Thanks to Senator Murray, we'll have a lot more to talk about. So the short answer to your question, Teddy, is that Senator Murray made two important changes to the law. One is we updated the safety standard so that it's clearer that chemicals like benzene cannot be in these products. So that is very, very important. The safety standard that FDA and industry was relying on was 84 years old. It was really designed to address things that would cause acute harms, things that would cause a rash or a burn, send you to the doctor or the hospital, not the sorts of chronic harms that would be caused by a carcinogen, a known carcinogen like benzene. So that was a really important update to the safety standard. The second really important development, perhaps even more important development, is FDA now has the authority to look at company safety records and make their own judgment about whether companies are taking steps to ensure the safety of consumers. There was a requirement by rule to substantiate the safety of these products that was not grounded in the law. It is now grounded in the law. And more importantly, companies will have to show, upon request, their safety records and their substantiation records to FDA, and FDA can make a judgment that companies aren't doing everything they can to address the safety of products, including the presence of benzene. So even though benzene is not an intentionally added ingredient, even though companies aren't intentionally adding benzene like they would add a preservative or a surfactant or something like that to a consumer product, they will be obligated to keep harmful ingredients like benzene, harmful contaminants like benzene out of these products and prove to FDA that they have processes in place to do so.
All right, not seeing any other raised hands. So if you do have a question and you can't figure out the raise your hand function, just go ahead, unmute yourself, let us know your name and outlet.
Hi there, Mimi Jung with King 5 in Seattle. I've got a two-part question, either for Senator Murray or for Scott. Scott, you'd mentioned that 20,000 women and girls have claimed to have lost their hair. You talked about that company. Which company is that you're referring to? And then secondly, just recently in the last week, 30 women have filed a lawsuit against Olaplex in regards to claims that the products have led to hair loss, damage, breakage, that kind of thing. What would happen, since that is in the news right now, and that's something that is underway right now, and Olaplex has responded to that lawsuit, how would the FDA then get involved with that case?
Scott, I'll let you answer the legal ones.
Sure, thank you, Senator. So why don't I just take the second one first? So I believe maybe the ingredient you're referring to that has been linked to the hair loss is an ingredient called Lilial. And that is an ingredient that is banned from use in the EU. It is an ingredient where there is a strong evidence of health harm. And it is exactly the kind of ingredient that will be now subject to the modern safety standard that Senator Murray was able to secure, and exactly the kind of ingredient that FDA, provided they have the resources will be able to demand safety data in order to assess for themselves whether that's an ingredient that belongs in US products. If you're wondering how it's possible that there are chemicals that are banned in the EU but still showing up in US products, the answer is that we have waited far too long to update these laws. And thanks to Senator Murray, FDA will now have new powers to address them. I'll also just quickly mention that the California Assembly is going to take up this year a bill to ban Lilial and 25 other ingredients that have been banned in the EU but are still showing up in US products. And then the name of the company that was linked to the loss of hair by 20,000 women and girls is a company called Wen Shampoo, WEN. And one of the other things that Senator Murray did that was so helpful was held a hearing for the first time in many years on cosmetics reform, where Senator Feinstein and Senator Collins were able to testify about their bill and be able to talk about, in particular, a young girl named Eliana, 12 years old, bright red hair, who lost all her hair simply because she bought a dry shampoo. So that is a perfect example of why these new laws will help consumers. If that were to happen today, thanks to the law that passed just over a month and a half ago, Wen Shampoo would have a duty to tell FDA that people were being harmed, consumers were being harmed by their product, and FDA would have the authority, the legal power to not only look at that company's safety records, but to stop that company from making a dangerous product and to order that product cleared from the market. None of those powers were in place before mid-December of last year.
Mimi, and I would just add, before that even, she would have a place to contact and say, I had this happen to me, and then the data would be collected and the company would have to respond, and FDA would then be able to use their powers. Before this law, there wasn't even that ability.
So there's no place for consumers to even file complaints or report this kind of problem.
Correct.
All right, last call for any questions.
Well, thank you all very much. for participating. Scott, thanks for your great help in getting this across the line. Sydney, thank you for joining us today. Look forward to working with all of you to make sure this is implemented and they have the resources to get this done correctly.
All right, thanks so much, folks. That concludes today's press call. It was recorded and will be distributed widely. Have a good one.
Thank you.